By now you've had some success sketching and modelling piece parts, but now it's time to start exploring the capabilities Solidworks xDesign has to offer in assembly modelling. In this example, we'll start from scratch and learn how to add components, create mates, test the motion, and make some in-place edits to a small suspension assembly. Whenever starting a new design, it's a good idea to rename and save straight away, so it's instantly searchable. This design document is referred to as a product. That's because SolidWorks xDesign is a little different from traditional CAD. There's no such thing as a file, and xDesign doesn't have separate modes for parts versus assemblies. I'm sure you'll all quickly appreciate the flexibility of this single modeling environment. I'll use the search tool to find my first component. Now I drag and then drop right into my empty product workspace. Select the insert icon from the mini bar and that's it. Selecting the component in the design manager brings up a triad called the robot, where I can adjust the position of this component. To add another component, just repeat the same steps as before, including adjusting the orientation using the robot. To add mates, just Control select the appropriate faces, planes, edges, axes or vertices. SolidWorks xDesign automatically narrows down the appropriate mate type based upon these selections. If it looks familiar, it's because it's the same workflow that we've been used to create sketch relationships. I've added a concentric and coincident mate to attach the bell crank to the steering arm. Dragging on the bell crank though, I see that both parts are moving together. That's because the steering arm hasn't yet been located in space. I'll create mates to the standard planes to define its location relative to the overall assembly. That's better. Now the components are moving as intended. The suspension needs a shock, so I'll add the top and bottom components. Same procedure as before. Search, then drag and drop. With both components in the workspace, I can move them into a more convenient position for mating. Concentric and coincident mates are all that are needed to assemble these parts to the bell crank and the steering arm. The assembly moves properly, but there's nothing controlling the stroke. Control selecting the two component origins, I'll added a limit distance mate between the top and bottom shocks. This gives the proper range of motion, but I can clearly see an interference between the shock and the bell crank. That is easily solved by changing this coincident mate to a distance mate. But now I need 5mm of material on the steering plate to account for this offset. Editing an individual component in the context of the assembly is easy. Just double click. The component being edited is highlighted in the design manager. All the other components are shown as transparent in the graphics area. I'll also hide the bell crank to make things easier to work on. Now I'll just create a profile by converting and offsetting an existing circular edge and extrude 5mm to match my previous distance mate. I'll add a small fillet for stress relief. Now that I've done adding this standoff to the steering plate, I can return to editing the full assembly by clicking here on the overflow menu. And don't let me forget to show the hidden bell crank again. And why not add some colour to each component? The core assembly capabilities for mating, motion, in-context editing and visualization are here in SolidWorks xDesign, pretty much as you'd expect. But now we have the flexibility to access and create designs on any device at any time. Keep practicing with SolidWorks xDesign and be sure to try out the assembly tools you've just learnt about. Now regarding this week's episode, Getting Familiar with Assemblies, I want to see what you can come up with, so log on to the community, find the question labelled Assembly Design Contest and submit an image of your best assembly. Remember, if you complete all the challenges during this onboarding, we will have an exciting gift for you. Be sure to vote on the ones you like too. Look out for the next email labelled Getting Familiar with Design Guidance, and until next time, have a good one.